Hi, this is Irina Shea, and this is part of our Wealth and Wisdom series. Today, we're going to be talking about can I avoid probate? So, we get asked a lot about probate. People are very concerned about it, particularly when you read national news and you hear about very lengthy, complex, expensive probate in states like Florida or California or New York. In New Jersey, probate is actually very straightforward. Just the same, if you don't have to interface with a court or face any delays, we try as much as possible to do so. So, we're going to go over some ideas in that regard. I'm going to share my screen. And we're going to start here. Can I avoid probate? So, first of all, I'd like to answer the question, what is probate, right? So, what is probate? It is the authentication of a person's will. So, just because somebody wrote a will doesn't necessarily mean it's valid or it's legitimate, right? So there are requirements. When a will is written as to who gets what and when of somebody's estate, it has to have two witnesses and a notary verifying that that person is over 18, of sound mind, um, at a basic level, understanding what they're signing. That's the function of the witness. And the notary, of course, is to validate the testator or testatrix's identity and the witnesses. So think of it as old school multi-factor authentication, like we now all have to do on our computers with silly grids and pictures. But this is still works because otherwise, if you can imagine, people would just scribble out anything on paper, have their granny sign it, and try to pass it off as a will. And what is the agency that would validate that, right? It's the court, it's the surrogate court or the probate court. So a bank doesn't want to do that, right? Nobody, no financial institution wants to do that for every single person. So probate is a legitimate process. It's making sure that people's testamentary wishes are in fact legitimate. So that is a key function. Does it have to be as complex as it is in certain states? No, but every state has its own probate process and it's county by county. So the county in which you reside at your death is the place where the will be probated. So we're going to talk today mainly about Bergen County, New Jersey. We're going to look at that website in a moment because it has very, very helpful, detailed information. But basically, probate in Bergen County, New Jersey is simple. What do I mean? It's a one-page probate petition, a form, and it's $100 to $200 filing fee, and it's mostly DIY. It is so straightforward. Very different in New York. That's a whole separate topic, okay? But in New Jersey, it is nothing to be afraid of on its own, right? So I'm going to close this and hop over for a moment to the Circuit Court website. So anyone who really wants to dive in and learn more should type in here bergencountysurrogate.com and read all about probate, when it's needed, what type of assets, et cetera, et cetera. It's a wealth of information and it's very well written, clear for a layperson. So you'll see here, for instance, the various forms, um, what probate is. It's very user friendly. So I would encourage anyone to dive in and read about this. Okay. So having said that, how do we avoid even the simplest form of probate? Okay. So one way is to have direct beneficiaries on all financial accounts. Okay. So for example, um, brokerage, bank, IRA, and life insurance. So for life insurance, it's required, right? For IRA or 403B or 401k, all of that, I'm just lumping it into the term IRA, it's also required. It's optional on brokerage and bank, right? But depending on the family dynamic, and I wouldn't say just do this without consulting a professional, but it may be that that's the cleanest way to get assets to your beneficiaries. If the dollars aren't that large, if everybody's adult, responsible, and really no major issues looming, that might be the answer, is to do direct beneficiaries. So what are these called? They're called TOD, transfer on death. Sometimes they're called POD, payable on death. And sometimes they're called ITF, meaning in trust for. It's not really a trust. It just means go to this person. So depending on the bank or the brokerage, they use different terminology, but it's all essentially the same thing. I would highly recommend you talk to your financial planner or an estate attorney before you do all this. But say for small accounts, checking banking, checking savings, that kind of thing, this often makes a lot of sense. Okay. So direct beneficiaries. So another way is to use a revocable living trust and fund it, right? So what is that? It's a trust you set up during life. It's kind of on standby in the event of incapacity or passing. But if you're older, I'm going to say, let's say 75 plus, put all assets in it. Put all assets in it. Cannot put in IRAs, but pretty much everything else. Put your assets in it. And now, if you die, the trustee is already managing that asset and can pass it in accordance with your wishes in the trust. So that goes sort of like up and over the probate process. Okay. Another way is joint title. So obviously, mostly it's husband wife. So husband wife on like a house deed, right? Or a brokerage account, that kind of thing. That passes automatically by operation of law. One spouse dies, it instantly belongs to the other, and there's nothing to do. So for married couples, step one is usually very simple. Joint title or POD gets it all to spouse without really too much trouble. And probate is only needed if there's a loose end that's not designated, but it's rare, right? This becomes more important when the second spouse has died and there remains one spouse. Now we have to get it to the kids somehow or to other beneficiaries. And that's where these things become useful. So it very much depends on the composition of your balance sheet and who the ultimate beneficiaries are. So probate here in New Jersey is really not bad at all. I should have also mentioned the whole process takes about 1 month. The clerks are wonderful in the Bergen County Probate Court. I can't say enough good things about them. And they're there to help you. So I would say think about all these things, but don't be fearful of probate, at least in our county, in our state of New Jersey. Okay. So if you'd like to learn more, you can go to our website at irinashea.com and click the Get Started tab. Our consultations are free. Thank you so much.